So I'm Daniel Munoz, and we have Mr.
Elias Gonzales.
Elias Gonzales. And Elias is running for District 4 Supervisor, Santa Cruz County. At what point did you realize I'm going to try to run for supervisor?
I never thought about running. I've never thought about running. I think I've been in all these spaces because of our work, right? We understand where the decisions are being made. We understand when the meetings are happening. Because of our work, we've been blessed to do that, right? And I think not a lot of folks understand where you can actually have public comment, when you can actually bring these things up. But I was invited to a lunch meeting. I was invited to a lunch meeting by a handful of community folks. Okay. Right? And I was invited, and they actually presented this idea to me. When someone reached out, it was about 6 community members. They approached me, and when when they, I remember calling one and said, "Hey, what are we talking about? What am I walking into? Why are you inviting me to?" She's like, "Oh, we want to talk. We want to see if elections are coming up." I'm thinking they were asking for the school board. When they brought it up and they said, "We're actually wondering if you would be willing to run for supervisor," I laughed.
Yeah.
I did. I laughed. I'll be honest, and I remind them of it. I laughed because for me, it was never a thought. I've never thought about it. I've been in those spaces, and then I asked each person why. I knew 5 of the 6, and the 5 answered, and I was all like, okay. The 6 that was like, well, based on what they all said, I'm immediately jumping on your ship already. Yeah. So, think about it. Go talk to your people. And I think for me, I'm still walking away like,
supervisor.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, supervisor.
And this was in January this year. Yeah. So when we first of all, I always talk to my kids for everything. Yeah. They're going to be the first ones. I'm going to talk to them, get their permission, because they're, they're going to have to deal with it. They will come with the pack. But again, then talk to mom, talk to my family about it. Mom said, ¿Qué hacemos? What do you need me to do? I said, just give me the blessing, Mom. Yeah. Mom gave me the blessing. Y le estamos echando ganas, like she said, right? Yeah. And I think that's it, bro. I think we were asked, and after a while, we thought about it, we processed it. Why? I mean, if I get into the why, I think there's so many things now. Yeah. It goes from, we need leadership, we need actual representation. There's a lack of de-investment in our community. Yeah. And in Watsonville, I grew up downtown Watsonville. Like, I would walk down to Main Street. There was cruising. There was light. Main Street was jumping. There was lights everywhere. People everywhere. And right now, there is no investment in anything down here. So the why, it gets into, like I said, I have a grandbaby. I want better for her. I don't want no battery plant here. I don't want kind of thing. I mean, there was conversations back of a new jail. It's always coming back to South County. I don't want a jail over here. Why is it always in South County? Yeah. I want investment in things that are going to benefit our community and invest in our youth. Okay.
Tell me more about securing our future now.
Securing our future really is about investment, right? Investment in community, investment in infrastructure, investment in health, investment in our schools, investment in employment, right? How do we invest in our community so that we can have, the tools necessary to thrive and live in this environment? Live here. Most of our folks have to live here. Most of us leave Santa Cruz County to work or to shop. I mean, and that's the reality in Watsonville. Most folks are driving over the hill somehow, or to buy food, to buy anything, to buy a coffee at times.
So why do you think it's important to engage the youth?
It's a lot of us, and I say old folks now, making decisions for them, right? It has to become from them. And when they're invited to the table, they should be not just invited, they should be welcome to the table. We've done it for so long where it's kind of, I think, a check the box. Yeah. But what true power do they really have? Right? And I think for me, when they're 1/3 of the population, I know that they should be at least be able to make those decisions that are going to impact them, right? Let's teach them the process. Let's educate them on the importance of voting. Let's teach them why, where the funding comes from. A lot of us are so disconnected from that. Yeah. Why don't we teach this in the schools? And maybe I haven't been to school in public education for over 30 years. Can't say they're not, but I don't remember us being taught these things, right? So how do we inform our young people about what the decisions are being made, and even include them in the process.
Yeah, you know, I come from the hip hop world, and we were doing shows, and I suggested to somebody doing the shows with us. I said, hey, we should go to the high schools because we had it was an all age venue, right? So I said, hey, well, we're not selling beer or anything. It's an all age venue. Let's go reach out to the kids, give the high school kids something to do, right?
Yes.
Let's teach them about hip hop, the next generation. Let's reach out to them, and my friend was like, I don't want to be dealing with no little kids, you know. Like he had that kind of attitude, and I was just like, that's like a gatekeeper's kind of mentality, you know. Like we need to be more open with the youth, and we need to, like you said, we need to embrace them, and we need to like teach them and show them the ropes, like you said, bro. And I believe in that too, you know.
If I can piggyback, I think like we're losing so much in the schools too, right? When I grew up, there was wood shop, there was different courses, right? And we've lost so much of that, right? And even everything that sports for our families is expensive, right? To have your kid involved in sports. So because of everything, prices rising, our communities are being impacted, right? So we're stuck at home on social media, and we know what social media does to our young people. So, but again, for me, it's also, we know now that 18 to 25 age range is who will win elections. Right? They are now looking at things and saying, hey, they're waking up. Right? And they're realizing that this is not working for them no more. That most folks won't be able to afford a home in their area. Most folks, college education is not going to help them get a well-paying job. Right? Folks are starting to realize, like, wait, we got to do something different here. So we know that 18 to 25 age range is important. Right? How do we engage them in the conversation? And again, for me, voter registration in Santa Cruz County, I think is, at least in South County, is one of the lowest. So how do we actually get our folks? And it's not that they don't care, but the reality is that they're disconnected and they don't understand the decisions being made. So how do we educate ourselves? It's not about educating them. It's about educating ourselves in the process, right? How do we build this so that we understand the decisions being made for us in certain spaces? So I think that that's the importance of incorporating them, right? So that they are going to lead this space, these spaces, and we have to educate them through that process and guide them, right? How do we we have a young man running for school board, right? Fresh out of high school.
I seen that.
Yeah, I mean, so I think for me, it's like, oh, heck yeah, good for you. And I think, you know, it's like a tough challenge. I think, you know, but I think that's what we need. Young people stepping up, figuring things out. And, you know, we have to rally behind them, right? It's to support them however we can. Because, again, it's important that folks step in. And, you know, we check in, we have, and even just having conversations sometimes is helpful, right? How do we build with folks? How do we connect with them in that way to build this community? Because that's really what it's about. How do we come together to build and, you know, really secure our future as we talk about?
Register to vote.ca.gov. Check your status or register on there because that's statewide.
That's right.
I'm going on voter regis in Monterey County.
That's cool. We've been telling folks, if you're not registered to vote, register to vote. Even if you don't vote for me, that's cool. We just need people involved in this process. That was, I mean, that's, I mean, at that point, it's true community. Everyone, this is what it was voted for, and I'm okay with that. I think as long as folks are coming out and folks are saying this is the majority is voting for this, that's all we ask for. That's all we really want, right? Folks to come out and be represented. But I think majority of the folks, you know, aren't coming out and aren't being represented.
I think it's because people don't really think that, like, oh, that doesn't apply to me.
Exactly.
That doesn't concern me.
Yes, sir.
You know, I got Netflix. You know, I just want to go home and watch Netflix. You know,
people
like,
are tired.
Yeah, people are tired. You know, they worked all day and they're just like, man,
what? Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that. You know, but they don't realize that, like, that's why you pay all the taxes that you pay. Because if we had better representation, we wouldn't have to be paying this many taxes. I mean, you get taxed when you get paid. You get taxed when you go buy gas. I mean, we're getting the double, triple taxed on the same money, you know? That's why they're getting us, because we're not voting.
Well, that, I think, you know, yes, we're not voting, but people are tired, right? People are tired. People are, like you said, trying to survive. And I think that that's what most of us are trying to just simply survive, that we're not able to thrive. And I think that once we start, you know, understanding that, having that critical analysis and understanding, like, wait a moment, it's more beyond football or it's the Netflix or whatever it may be, right? And trust me, I want to watch some Netflix and I want to watch my football game, right? But again, the reality is that, you know, we have to, and again, for me, it's always thinking about the young people, making decisions today that are going to impact their future.
Everybody out there, Santa Cruz County, District 4, vote Elias Gonzales. I think he's the man for the job. Hey, I appreciate you having this conversation with me.
No,
I
thank
wish
you.
you the best of luck on the campaign trail in November. And yeah, let's do it, man. Let's take District 4, Santa Cruz County, and, do it for Watsonville.
Thank you. Appreciate the conversation. Thank you for sitting with us and just having a dialogue and connecting. Right?
Yeah.
Really, that's what it's about, connecting. How do we come together to build? And I think you, by coming out here, and connecting with us, I really appreciate that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Not just here, but in community. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. Yeah, once again.